What's up? Brian Maxwell here, and I'm coming at you real quick because I got a lot of people that's been asking me about different ways to be able to really help their customers when it comes down to negotiations. And one of the things that I really want to point out is that a lot of people, when they come back off the test drive, the very first thing that they want to do is they want to walk their customer back to their desk and sit down and do the demo drive. Now, one thing I want you to really realize is that these customers that you all are dealing with today, they're highly intelligent, they're better informed than ever before. They've read blogs, they've read forums, they've read books on how to come in and deal with the big, bad car salesperson, okay? So when you come back off a demo drive, if you pay attention, if you open the door and allow them to walk in, they'll walk directly back over to your work area or to your cubicle, sitting down ready to start doing business with you and start negotiating numbers. And what that means is they've built that defensive wall up. It's high and it's very wide, which is exactly why at the time when you come back off the demonstration drive, this is the best time for you to give them a tour of your dealership and the service area. And here's why. When they come back off the demo drive, everybody's been programmed to believe that it's time to talk about numbers. And when you take the average person that's coming back thinking about it's time to talk about numbers, most people's mental capacity to be able to build up a mental wall of defense and then to drop that wall and then to get it back up as high as it was is very minimal. Most people allow little things to frustrate them, petty things to frustrate them, or their inability to communicate. And so what this does, this is an advantage to the sales professional, because when you bring them back and they believe they're going to sit down and talk numbers, guess what we do? We grab them and say, hey, listen, follow me over this way. I'm going to give you a tour of the service area and the service lane where all the magic happens, where we actually take care of your vehicle. As a matter of fact, before you leave today, I want to make sure that I schedule your very first appointment. And then you take them into the service area. You give them a tour of the service waiting area. Listen, this is where we have Wi-Fi, we have coffee, we have water, we have refreshments, whatever you may have at your store. And at that time, you take them over and you give them an actual tour of the service lane. Now, if your service manager or service director is available, they should have been, if they are not, well informed of what it is that you and every one of your team members is going to be doing, which is bringing them over and giving them a tour. Which means that when you bring them over and that service manager or that service director is right there and you say, hey, Mr. Service Manager or Miss Service Manager, right here I have customer A and B. They're looking to purchase the new ABC vehicle. I wanted to bring them over and let them know what the magic happens. Show them where they're going to be bringing a vehicle for the very first service. And guess what? This individual may shake their hand. They may say hello. Hopefully they shake their hand, they acknowledge, and they say hello. Now what this does is that for that same guest that you had, whose defensive walls were way up when you brought them back and was ready to sit down, now when you take them and you give them a tour, you start introducing them to other people, guess what happens? Their defensive wall has to drop because they're shaking hands or they're being greeted appropriately. And if there is no service manager or director, introduce them to a service tech, introduce them to a service advisor, introduce them to an express tech, whoever it is. It allows them to feel important and special. So when they lower those defenses to greet, shake hands, and be fairly cordial with these other individuals, now when we take them back to our desk, will the defensive wall come up? Yes. Will it be as high as it was? Absolutely not. Will it be as thick as it was? Absolutely not. The name of the game is utilizing pattern interrupts in order to help us be able to perform a lot better and get the successes in the sales that we want. So making sure that we really think about it from a psychological aspect, far more from a product standpoint. So many salespeople think about everything from a product standpoint, when in reality, that piece of metal, that inanimate object, that piece of plastic and metal, it has no credit, makes no decisions, and makes no money. But it is the human beings, the people, that actually make the decisions. So making sure that we keep the main thing, which is always the people. So as you're interacting with your guests and you're going through the process, when you come back off the demo drive, hey, that's an excellent time to do the trade walk. Because any other moment in the process could seem extremely out of whack. If you're sitting there with them, they have a trade-in, you get up, you go out there and look at it, you have to bring them back in. No. If they feel like they have a vehicle that the dealership may be interested in buying from them, excellent. Gain all the info from that and let them know, hey, listen, when we go outside, you and I are going to take a look at it, maybe take a quick spin, and I'm going to have one of my managers take a look at it to at least give you some numbers to let you know what we may buy it for. Okay? Now, this is at the time before we go out. Now, when we come back, this is when we do the silent trade walk. Now, after the silent trade walk, as we're bringing an individual in, why not give them a tour of the dealership in the service area? Remember that pattern interrupt. They're expecting you to sit down and begin to hammer them. And those of you in the business know what it's like. You've been sitting down, you've been having a good conversation with your customer, y'all been building an excellent rapport, but then when you come back and it's time to talk about numbers, it seems like somebody that you've never met before. Why? It's because they've read it on every forum, every blog, and every book. Then when they come back from the demo drive, this is your time to start hammering them home. And not necessarily has to be so. This is our opportunity to really separate ourselves from everybody else they talk to and finish in first place. So instead of bringing the person in and allowing them to go straight to your desk, even if you open the door up for them and they walk over to it, this is where you say, hey, listen, ma'am, sir, John, Judy, listen, follow me over here. Let me give you a tour of the service waiting area and the service area. This is where you'll bring your vehicle to get it serviced when it's time. Now, what you're doing, you're assuming ownership by using you and your. You're using the pattern interrupt because they're expecting to sit down and do battle with you over the numbers. But guess what we've done? We've taken them, we've given them a tour of the dealership, we've introduced them to some people to help them feel important. So they're shaking hands and they're smiling. That defense is dropped. Now, when we go back to sit at that desk, will those defenses come back up? Absolutely. But will they go as high and as wide as they did before? Absolutely not. This is your advantage to really give yourself an edge in the equation as far as on when you're dealing with these people, because let's just be real. Most people have a very negative perception about automotive sales prior to coming to the dealership because of those old school rip-off artists that used to be in the game. But like any industry, doctors, lawyers, basketball players, football players, if you name it, there's bad apples that can spoil a bunch. And so what it is that we're talking about here is how to take the good apples and for us to change the paradigm of the general public. And the way that that's done is that when you're coming back off the demo drive, as opposed to going in and sitting them down and talking numbers, this is when you do your silent trade walk. You bring them in, you give them a tour of the service waiting area and the dealership. And at that time, you guide them back to your desk for you to begin to educate them rather than negotiate. And that's a whole nother video. But the reason why I came into this for you is to help you really, really understand the fact that selling is easy when it's done right. And you want to look for those pattern interrupt opportunities for you to be able to help you bridge the gap between where you are and where your customer wants to be. And the more accurate you can do that, the better you are. All right? This was a quick snippet, quick tidbit. Brian Maxwell coming at you, and I look forward to seeing you at the dealership. Thanks, y'all.